Hello everybody, my name is Byrnage and this is my review for Deadly Towers on the NES. I have mixed feelings about this game. It did a lot of things right, and it had a few things it did very wrong. So whether you like this game or not is going to greatly depend on how much you hate the things that are wrong with it. Anyways, Deadly Towers is an adventure game where your main goal is to burn down 7 towers and take down the evil king of the devils, Rubus. Rubus was secretly constructing a castle in the mountains from where he would launch his invasion on your kingdom. Thankfully, some unknown entity warns you of the Demon King's plans, and thus you begin your quest to stop Rubus and keep your land safe. In this game, you really just move around and throw swords. You can't throw another sword until your first one is gone, either by going off screen or skewering an enemy. If you hit an enemy, they are stunned for a short time, allowing you to stun lock them if you are close enough to keep hitting them before they can move again. And when right up against an enemy, you can throw your sword as fast as you can press the button, seemingly with no cap. It's pretty insane. This game can be very mashy, so I wouldn't tap the button too fast or you'll just wear yourself out. You're going to want to play the long game. Be prepared to tap the attack button for your entire gaming session. Or put a fake finger on a sewing machine and keep that going full blast on your attack button. You can also enter the menu to use items and equip new gear. Along your journey you will come across strong armor that you will need to equip for it to take effect. The world is laid out into 3 basic sections: the castle, the towers, and dungeons. The castle is where you start. If you climb up the castle, you will eventually reach the base of 7 towers, so you can attempt to venture up and collect a bell at the top. Bring the bell down to the base and burn it, and the tower will be burned down. In the castle on the way up, there are many invisible portals that lead to dungeons. Very big dungeons that you will easily get lost in if you don't make a map. Each dungeon is on a 16 by 16 grid, which means there are 256 rooms to each dungeon. It's a little overkill. With the entrances being invisible, you never know when you're just going to get sucked in and you can't easily get out. There is one room containing an exit out of all 256, and it's not anywhere near where you start. Every time it happens, you'll be completely lost, like you just woke up from a chloroforming and your anus hurts. In the early game, every time I accidentally found a dungeon, I just wandered lost until I died and got to spawn back at the start. Why they made the entrances invisible and why they made the dungeons so unnecessarily big is beyond me, but they are a massive factor in some of the things wrong with this game. At first, when I thought these were going to be a huge part of the game, I didn't think I was going to enjoy this game very much, but it turns out you really only need to go into one of them if you explore it well enough, and there's literally a map for one of them in the manual. It has all the shops marked, and the shops are the only reason to go into the dungeon. Well, that and to grind money off the limitless monsters inside so you can buy all the nice things from said shops. Here you will get your beginner armor as well as potions and other items. This is almost required to do before you venture into the towers, and boy is it a rough time if you don't have a map. When you enter a room, you will often be right next to enemies that will immediately walk into you and knock you back and deal damage to you. And the knockback can send you right into the next room where you'll repeat the process. Take damage, get knocked back, and possibly fly into the next room. And this is really just bad design. The rooms needed to be larger so the enemies weren't right on top of you as soon as you enter. Shops are hidden under these magic circles on the ground, and sometimes there is an enemy spawn right on top of it. That enemy will respawn when you come out, and I found one shop where I literally couldn't get out. As soon as I came out, the enemy would hit me and knock me right back into the shop. If the dungeons didn't exist at all, this game would be leaps and bounds better. Once you collect all the starting equipment, there really isn't much reason to go back, thankfully. Just pop into one you know well to stock up on potions from time to time, and that's it. Then it's off to climbing the castle. Here you'll find max health upgrades that will spawn every time you die, and you can keep collecting them until you reach 200 health. After that, you can only find max health upgrades in the towers, which you can supposedly get up to 299, although I ended the game with 280 health. The towers are where the real meat of the game is. Here you want to search around really well because you can find portals to parallel dimensions where monsters are tougher, but most of the game's strongest equipment lies hidden. And once you've burned down the tower, any equipment left behind is lost forever. I love these sections. Each one had its own music and its own unique boss at the top, as well as parallel worlds and secret rooms. It was at this point that I decided this was a pretty cool game. Also, as you destroy towers, enemies get tougher and greater in number, and on top of that, shops will upgrade their inventory if you really want to go back into the dungeons, that is. Once you burn down all 7 towers, the main gate at the front of the castle will open and you can go in to fight the boss. I expected this section to be longer and more epic since it's the end of the game, but it's about half the size of any of the towers, which is all fine and dandy, just a little disappointing. Overall, I think this was a good game. It has a really good password system to save your game, and as long as you haven't turned your system off, it auto-populates the password for you. I've always been a fan of games where it feels like you're constantly making progress, and that progress feels safe. The dungeons are bad, and the way you get teleported into them randomly is the worst, but that's such a small portion of the game, so I think it still gets a pass. Oh, and you can also get knocked off cliffs, which kills you instantly and is just obnoxious. Every time you die and start back at the front, you probably want to fill up your health and grind money for some potions in the dungeon, and going through all that just to get knocked off a cliff in an instant is a huge drag. I give this game the good old recommend for people into adventure games. Like and subscribe for the good of the land. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.